Hi, this is Mike Bowers. I'm the Director of the Ohio Small Business Development Center at Columbus State Community College, and we're very excited today to be joined by Tiffany Timmons, sales strategist and great friend of the Ohio Small Business Development Center. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here.
Can you start by talking about sales strategy as a sales strategist? How does that relate? What does that mean for the small business owner? How should they be thinking about sales?
Wow. I have a very good friend who said to me, if a business does not take their sales force seriously, their business is just a hobby. Sales is the lifeblood of their business. And if they don't take it seriously and really learn the true meaning behind it, how to improve upon it constantly, they're not going to have any business left.
Yeah, and business is kind of important, right?
Absolutely.
Right. A lot of small business owners that I talk to, they talk about marketing. They think about sales, they kind of think they're the same thing. And a lot of times they lean more on the marketing side, thinking that sales would just naturally happen. Can you kind of talk about that and what might be incorrect in that assumption?
People usually like marketing because it's glamorous. It's putting ads together, it's getting the word out. Marketing is sometimes that there's a distance to that, but sales, now you're toe-to-toe. You're belly-to-belly, you're face-to-face. You've got to make sure that you connect with that person on the other side of the table so that you can do business together.
When we talk about connection and sales and in the relationship process, how does that really work? We talk about you've got to build a relationship, but at the same time, you have to get to the point where you're closing the business. So how does all that kind of work together?
Well, Mike, you've probably met people that you said, we clicked. You just got along great, right?
Right.
And are there other people you've met that you go, we're just not on the same page? And if you've ever traveled internationally, you've probably seen people who speak English, and they're talking to somebody who lives in that country, and the person doesn't understand them when they're speaking English. So when they don't understand them, the English-speaking person usually does what? Speaks louder and slower. Well, they didn't understand you the first time, they're not going to understand you the second time. What I'm talking about in sales is making sure that you are using language that the other person really has meaning and feeling to. There are certain words that will connect with certain people. And we can learn, that is a teachable skill. You can actually learn what words connect with different people based on their human behavior.
So when you're talking to a business owner, how do you get them in the mindset of being the salesperson for the organization? Because oftentimes they're the face of the organization. They may not have a huge staff. And even if they do have a huge staff, nobody's going to sell their passion better than they sell it anyway. So how do you get them to get out of that mindset, I'm not a salesperson, and get them to actually start to make that transition?
That is a process that they need to go through. And the first thing is recognizing what makes them say, I'm not a salesperson. We need to understand why they say that, and then what is a salesperson to them? Is a salesperson somebody who can communicate clearly their ideas, or is a salesperson someone who just pushes product? Two different meanings.
Right.
If they're truly going to be somebody who understands what others need, communicate clearly in a language that makes sense to that prospect, and engage with them in the process to make sure that they use their product or service, then they're truly helping people. And that's what business owners need to understand, how to communicate their intent to help and their desire to help, not simply to sell a product or service.
Right. Now, you've used the word communicate a couple of different times here, and communicate often also means, in addition to talking, it means listening. So listening in the sales process obviously is important. And can you talk about how that then relates to the dreaded dealing with objections? Salespeople will talk about you have to deal with objections, and business people start to say, well, I don't know how to do that. I mean, how do you start to really get into the process of dealing with the objections and get maybe past the mindset that I can't do that?
Objections, a lot of times people will say, well, we're stopped, we're not getting past here, when objections are a very good thing. You need to be able to communicate what the concern is. If somebody says, I'm going to think about it, you know what, they've got objections in their mind, they're just not sharing them with you. And they walk away and the sale never happens. So we want to move away from, I'm going to think about it, to what those true objections are. Here's the part you just mentioned.
Okay.
the absolute number one critical factor in overcoming those objections is truly listening to what that objection is and understanding why they have it. Once you understand that completely, you can either overcome it with another benefit, or it may not be the right thing, and you may have to go down a different avenue. But you've got to be able to listen and understand what truly that person is saying.
Well, you've listened, you've kind of dealt with some of the objections, you're starting to kind of work on the same plane with the individual across the table. Talk about closing. That is the ultimate. Everybody talks about closing. We've all been different places. I mean, I've been different places where I can tell you what type of closing technique somebody's using on me, and it gets frustrating for me. So can you talk about, closing and how that kind of works?
Was it frustrating to you because that person did not truly understand you in your perception?
Yeah, I think so, because they weren't necessarily understanding what was my issue and not making that buy. And all of a sudden, I'm hearkening back to, Sales 101, and here's, closing technique A. It's almost word for word.
Sure.
And it was challenging for me.
So they missed a connection with you.
Absolutely.
They were simply product pushing and trying to get you to a close. Closing is a process, not an event. And if it feels at the end like they're pushing or they're playing tug of war with you, then they missed something along the way, because it should be very natural. If it's something that that person truly needs and wants and you can offer it to them, there's no reason that moving forward shouldn't be simple and easy.
Great. What would you say a couple of the biggest mistakes that business owners make in the sales process, and how does that influence the process?
Number one mistake, and this is done subconsciously, is that they can irritate the person they're trying to sell. We all have different behavioral styles. And once you understand human behavior, you can make sure that you are giving that person what they need. Because if we don't, we will irritate them, and we will never irritate somebody we sell.
Well, this has been great information for small business people. For more information on the Ohio Small Business Development Center or our activities, you can visit our website, which is sbdcfreeadvice.ning, that's Ning.com. Thank you very much, and have a great day.